Hi, this is Stephen Mead, lifelong entrepreneur, business owner, and global speaker. Over the years, I've read hundreds of books and spent thousands of hours developing what I call the Bullseye Belief System. And I've used that system to develop my own companies, as well as help others learn to be specific, targeted, and focused to get exactly what they want in life. Again, I'm Stephen Mead, and this is the Bullseye Guy Podcast. Stephen Mead again, back with another Bullseye Guy Podcast. Having a great time at the Groove radio stations downtown LA. Again, I plug them all the time, but if you're ever in LA, you should come down and check it out. These things are cool. There's a lot of construction going on. Occasionally we'll hear somebody banging in the background. So I think the back of the studio is expanding. But what's interesting is the studios are set up. Swedish Eagle and the guys are here. And if you look at the old school, again, I love the records behind me. Think about technology. Think about how things have progressed. One of the biggest progressions in the last, I'm going to say 10 years, is social media. And that's the topic today, is why social media is broken. I know a lot of people love it. I'm going to go through a bunch of points of things that I think are interesting in terms of the good, the bad, and the ugly with social media, some of the trends of what's happening now, some of the changes, and we're going to talk about how you can make it better. But if we go back, again, we're trying to figure out the age and demographic of our audience. So believe it or not, I joke, before the internet, there was no internet. Well, just like before Instagram, there was no Instagram. And if you realize that, before Facebook, there was no Facebook. But before Facebook was something called MySpace. And before MySpace was something called Friendster. And before that was something called High Five. There have been these platforms that have evolved over time. And I was around long enough that when MySpace was at its height, MySpace was a behemoth. It collapsed under its own weight because your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. And I've said that before. The strength of MySpace at the time as a social media platform and tool was it allowed you to be creative. It was one of the first, what in technical parlance is called WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. But it was actually just drag and drop. You could create a web page and you could drag certain elements around, and with a computer and a mouse, you could instantly create your own sort of web page that allowed you to be creative. It was MySpace. That was your content. The downside is as MySpace was growing, more widgets, more things, more stuff got added on, and it became such a graphical disaster that every page you went to, it was just a mess. And there was so difficult in trying to find things. It started collapsing under its own weight. And you could feel that coming on. And I remember I was at a panel with Mark Zuckerberg, believe it or not, at Stanford when they were still the Facebook. And we were trying to do something different called Six Bacon. And my joke was, it was kind of a spin-off, a pun. Sometimes I think I'm too cute and clever for my own good. But the idea was to create something that was 6 degrees of separation. And there's a game out called 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, where the theory is everybody in the world 6 degrees or 6 people away from Kevin Bacon. But the point is, you could look at Facebook many years ago and see what was coming up, but you could look at MySpace and you could feel what was wrong. And you knew there was going to be this migrational jump and change. And when Facebook came out, people hated it, myself included, but I understood what, I understood what they were doing. What Facebook did is locked down the interface. What's the entrepreneurial thing to learn there? They locked the interface down where you couldn't modify it. Well, why is that important? Again, I like historical lessons. If we go back, Steve Jobs, people love Jobs. They think he's brilliant. Well, Steve had some failures. And I love studying the failures of people, not just their successes. Steve Jobs came out with a device many, many years ago called the Apple Newton. And the Newton was ahead of its time. It was a PDA, a personal digital assistant, long before smartphones and everything that are all thrown in your device now. And what the Newton tried to do brilliantly was it had a screen on it and it would learn your handwriting. And so if you were writing, you could just write on the screen and it would learn your handwriting and convert it to text. And that was supposed to be the brilliance and ease of the Newton. It failed. It didn't work because the technology wasn't there for text to write conversions. A guy named Casey Cowell came out with something in U.S. robotics called the Palm Pilot. Now, again, many of you may or may not remember the Palm Pilot, but what Casey did differently with the Palm Pilot was said, we are not going to make the device learn everybody's handwriting, right? Think about your handwriting. Mine sucks. I hardly write anymore, so even when I do write, I can't read my writing because I type. But what Casey Cowell did with U.S. robotics is said, we are going to create graffiti and make everybody learn graffiti. So graffiti for an A, a capital A, was just up and down. Didn't matter how you wrote the A in your cursive handwriting, you learned graffiti. Up and down was A. Around was a B, C. So the graffiti became the style guideline that everybody learned, and that made the Palm Pilot and U.S. Robotic infinitely successful. Before Google, there were probably 15 or 20 search engines. Alta Vista, Dogpile, there were a bunch of them. And whenever you went to these different pages, they all were laid out differently. What did Google do? Simple interface. Every time you go, everything's pretty much in the same exact spot. Clean, white, not a lot of ads, not a lot of graphic, simplify the message. Social media, Facebook did the same thing. It created a standardized, formatted platform and made everybody learn that. But when you came out of the creative MySpace world, it was tough. When the social media came out, there were a lot of fake profiles. There were a lot of, misinformation. So social media, as it's evolved, has always had these different problems. And that's what happened with Facebook. Again, some of this is historical. When Facebook was about to go public, there's a saying in social media: kids make you cool, moms make you money, and grandmothers kill you. Think about it. Kids make you cool, moms make you money, grandmothers kill you. What that meant is when Facebook came out, it was all the kids in there and they started out on the college campus. When the moms moved into Facebook, it was the moms sitting around, bored during the day, playing games, spending money. Facebook started making money because of the moms. By the time the grandmothers were coming in liking the grandkids, the kids are like, get me out of here. Defaulting to Instagram. The brilliance of the Facebook purchase of Instagram was their audience was already defaulting. They were aging out. And that's what happened with Snapchat. If you think about the same thing, if you follow this, Snapchat came along. Facebook right now is collapsing a lot under its own weight. The demographics are older. The age is older. The content, the ability to post. Who owns your data? Again, I'm going to make some different points here. We learned this early on with Facebook on the data side. We were working with a band. It was actually interesting. And again, the numbers, when I come up with the numbers, I don't want you to hold me. I'm more like a Trumpian standard than a Wikipedia standard. And what I mean by that is some of my examples might be hyperbolistic. They might be close on the numbers. They're not Wikipedia exact. That's all I mean by that. I'm not picking sides in politics. I'm a sales guy. I'm prone to hyperbole and exaggeration, but I try and get it as close as I can. Social media, Facebook was building all of these audiences. And if you're a brand, if you're a band, a musician, here's what happened. You would spend all of this money, and Linkin Park was one of the big ones. This came out in conversation with the group years ago. Linkin Park spent millions and millions and millions of dollars building their audience in Facebook. And their group, their Facebook fan page, was 10, 15, 20 million. I don't remember the exact number, but it was a lot. And Linkin Park had a concert coming out. They said, hey, we want to send an ad. We want to send a notice to everybody in our Facebook group. We have 10 million fans. And Facebook said, great, no problem. That's a sponsored post. It's $250,000. And the band's like, well, no, that's our audience. We built our audience. We spent millions of dollars. No, it's not your audience. It's Facebook's. You cannot market directly to the people in your group. You can post something organically, and Facebook has a thing called an EdgeRank algorithm. Again, this is all designed to be somewhat knowledgeable, educational. What can get better, we're going to cover in a little bit. An EdgeRank algorithm, it's about 12 elements in a mysterious black box. I don't know if you know this. When you post something, Facebook decides who gets to see that based on who's interacted with you recently, what other things they like. So you may have 5,000 friends, only 100 or 200 or 300 will actually see that. But even the definition of see is a misnomer. We were tracking all of this. If you post a piece of content at 9 o'clock in the morning, Facebook says, oh, out of your 5,000 friends or 5 million friends or 50 million, we're only going to send it to these people. It goes to X number of people at 9 o'clock. That person may not sign in till 11 or 12. By then, that content's rolled off the screen. So trying to figure out how to engage with your audience is a difficult premise. Instagram was the darling. Instagram came along and everything's chronological. To me, life isn't chronological. One of the things that we've long thought is broken, we've got a tool coming out called Magmo. I'll talk about that in a minute. It was called a magazine moment. Now it's called a magic moment. I'll tell you why we had to change the name, because we got punched in the nose from the investors. But when you look at social media, as a brand, you're trying to control and manage and own your audience. These platforms, you don't own anything. If you went to Facebook and said, hey, I want to export all of my fans so I can market to them directly, can't happen. LinkedIn, another one. We use LinkedIn, and I'm at 30,000 people. I've been capped out on LinkedIn forever. Why they put 30,000 as a limit, I have no idea. I have 14 or 15,000 requests. Half of the things in LinkedIn are probably nothing against Indians. It's a bunch of Indian programmers trying to sell me crap. I can't go in and take out the people that aren't relevant. I can't go into Facebook. Again, I'm riffing on a bunch of things where I think it's broken. LinkedIn, I'll jump back to Facebook. LinkedIn, 30,000 people. I want to be able to go in and do a search where I want to say, give me everybody in order that I have the most people and connections with. LinkedIn fascinates me. I have people in LinkedIn. I found a guy the other day. I have 1,780 people in common. 1,780 people in common. A common connection where we're first degree connections of people in common. I have no clue who this guy is. Never met him. Don't know. So is social media good? Yeah, it's interesting. People are like, oh, well, I'll send you something in LinkedIn. Great. Get in line. I have 15,000 people. I'm not saying I'm important. I just use these tools early on. So I'm one of the early adopters into things. Facebook's the same way. I'm capped out at 5,000. I have been for years. I always joke, if I want to add somebody, I got to go in and kill somebody off again. It's so frustrating with all the politically correct people out there. I'm not really going to kill anybody off, but I have to remove them. I have to go through a Facebook list and look for profiles that are, quote, deactivated, because Mark is a criminal. Zuckerberg, yes, I'm calling you out. You're a criminal. Not in a bad way. You just do a bunch of stuff that I don't agree with. In Facebook, you cannot delete your profile. I don't know if you know that or not. You can deactivate. When you deactivate your profile, Facebook for years, I don't know if they still do, for years still got to count you as a user. When they went public, it was shown that 25 or 30% of their 400 million people were deactivated or duplicate accounts. So in Facebook, I'd like to be able to go in and say, hey, show me everybody that's deactivated so I can remove them and free up space. Do they give me that tool? No. I have to scroll down hundreds and hundreds and find people and look at their profile and then unfriend them just to free up space. Like there's just little frustrations within social media for things that don't work. Back to LinkedIn. I'd like to be able to do the same thing. I'd like to be able to sort my 30,000 connections in a not chronological, categorical, number. Is it? Well, chronological, Eagle's over here trying to help me. It's like chronological is really by date. I want it by number. I want the numerical. I was trying to come up with another C, but I want it in numerical order for the people I have the most contacts with. Like, I'd love to be able to go into LinkedIn and say sort, And just like an Excel spreadsheet, all this stuff is in a database, guys. Fix it. It's easy. Let me sort so it filters to the top. I'm curious, who do I have the most connections with? And do I even know this person? And if I don't, why not? This guy with 1,700 connections in common, I'm thinking, why don't I know him? Like, what's missing in the world? But then I'd like to go down to the bottom 30,000, of which it's going to be a bunch of people that are either gone or deleted, or I have zero in common with because they were fake profiles set up to try and market to me and sell me crap. I can't take it out. So because of that, LinkedIn to me becomes useless. It's a platform. Microsoft bought them. Reed did an amazing job. You sold me a useless platform because the tools aren't in there for little things that make the experience better. It's broken. Same thing when I talk about chronological, I'm going to tell a story here. We have a tool out now called Magmo. Shameless plug. It's okay. It's starting to roll out. Exciting stuff. I'm going to tell you how we came up with the idea, what we did in terms of the idea, flushing it out, how it came about. And this is where I learned a lot of this when I say social media is broken. So going back many years ago, 3 or 4 probably, maybe 5, sitting up on Sunset, West Hollywood, those of you who haven't been here, beautiful steakhouse called Boa. I'm sitting with a friend of mine, John Pattison. John has won a bunch of Emmys. Not a bunch. He's won 4. That may be a bunch for somebody that's never won any. But he's had 4 Emmys. He's done well. Created electronic press kits. These things called EPKs, behind the scenes. Celebrities are walking in and out. Paparazzi, flashing, going off. John, off a cuff, says, boy, they're dying for their Kodak moment. Now again, age appropriate. Some audience may not remember Kodak moment. God, we're getting so old. Killing me. Kodak moment was that iconic picture where you're trying to capture that one shot. That Kodak moment was that perfect single photo. I turned to him off the cuff because my mind works differently and I'm programmed weird. I said, they don't want their Kodak moment. They want their magazine moment. They're narcissists. They want to be on the cover of a magazine. And that sort of started me flipping down of all the things that are wrong with social media because I wanted a tool to be able to create little instant magazines and shoot them out. Kind of like the people that go down to the Santa Monica Pier and get their picture taken on Fortune or Forbes or on the cover of Mars. People want that recognition. Again, back to something I did on the prior podcast, recognition. So we did some investigation. And I've asked people this all the time. I didn't know this. I love the investigative side. What's the number one photo that's shared? What type of photo is the number one photo that's shared on social media? I'm going to turn to Swedish. Eagle's sitting here next to me. Any ideas?
Selfie.
Selfies. But what are they taking the selfies of?
Themselves.
Doing what? Eagles here. Dun, dun. It's like Jeopardy. I didn't know this. The minute I say it, people go, aha. The number one category of photos shared online is food and drink. Fascinated me. Food and drink is the number one. Even if they're taking selfies, it's usually food, drink. But if you look, people are taking pictures of their food. I don't know why. I'm not a foodie. I go for the people, not the place. I don't care whether it's pasta. As long as it's not hot dogs, I will eat it. But that became interesting to me. I was like, oh, food and drink. Well, what are the other categories? So I looked and we built a tool based on categories. Food and drink, fashion. A lot of times people are dressed up. Travel was a big one. Pets, music, business. To me, life is about categories. So we created this tool called Magmo for magazine moments. Trademark Show Your Stories. Didn't get it out in the market in time, and Instagram kind of stole the stories. Snapchat stole the moments. Yes. Did they steal it from me? I think so, because we've had things stolen here in Hollywood. It's okay. I won't throw the guys at CAA under the bus because we're being recorded, but one day I will. I'll come after you guys at CAA. You know who you are. But basically, to me, life isn't about chronology. This is where I think Instagram's just broken. Instagram to me is horrible. People say, I love Instagram, until I'm done with them. And I say, what do you love about it? Oh, they give me 3 or 4 things. I said, oh, well, what about this? And I give them 10 things that they never thought about. It's like Steve Jobs. When Jobs said, People don't know what they want because they've never seen it. You have to show them something they've never seen before, and then they can't live without it. And so when we looked at Magmo, it was interesting because to me, if I'm traveling, I want to share all my travel moments as a travel category. It's not just travel at 10 o'clock and then I'm eating lunch at 11 and then I'm somewhere else. Like, I wanted to group things together to be able to share them. I don't want to go down chronologically in order. If I'm interested, again, we're sitting here at the Groove radio stations. If we were just with Paul Oakenfold, I'll try and get this right. He's giving me the thumbs up. Paul, because Swedish Eagle and the guys, have dealt with all the DJs. I don't really know these guys, but Paul was cool. Paul Oakenfold was on stage with my friend Emmanuel Kelly. Akon was there. If I was interested in Paul just for his music, I would want to go to social media and say, I want to see Paul's music. If I'm interested in just his fashion, like he was wearing, I've never seen the guy before. He's wearing some pretty funky stuff on stage. Probably has his own fashion style. To me, I'd be interested in his fashion throughout the day or behind the scenes or on stage or what he wore through the course of the day, not 11, 12, 1. Like, life to me is category, not chronology. Everything's still set up. Facebook still, I call it a bleed of dribble. It's basically time-based as things roll down the line. It's broken. It can get better. It's collapsing under its own weight. And now I'm fascinated again. I'll weave back and forth between Magmo and the future and what's going on now. This concept of recognition. I've talked about it before. People are recognition motivated. Within a Facebook, I'll use Facebook primarily, Instagram's the same way, and Twitter. If you post a picture in Facebook, people click, they like the likes, right? The thumbs up. How many thumbs up did you get? Because people are recognition motivated. They're dying for that thumbs up. Well, my joke is a click, if you're a celebrity, if you're a musician, if you're trying to sell something especially, a click feeds your ego. Doesn't feed your bank account. Bunch of people clicking like on your photo, good for you. It's like having a restaurant with a bunch of people driving by honking. Bunch of people drive by your honk and wave, thumbs up, we love your food, who cares? They didn't buy anything, they didn't do anything. Oh, but our ego is fed because we get a bunch of likes. As a consumer, recognition motivated. That's why people are posting food. They want all their friends to go, oh, food, I love it. Here's my trip. Oh, I love it. You look so good. Because they're narcissistically driven. The internet is driven by narcissism and voyeurism. If you think about it for a minute, the internet is about narcissists putting things up so they get liked and voyeurs looking at what everybody else has, wishing they had it. May not agree with me, but that's it. Why do you go to your friend's Facebook page? Half of it is you want to keep up with them. Half of it is you wish you had what they had. Half of it is you hope that you have more than them. Like, the psychology of the internet is fascinating. Narcissism and voyeurism drives it all. Facebook realized that. Instagram realized that. Twitter realizes that. But it's changing. There's a change afoot within the industry. You've got people, again, I think I'm going to get this right. I think Selena Gomez, big person, has dropped out of social media. The negativity, the comments, the pressure to put things out. The teenage girls who put things out on social media, this social pressure is now starting to catch up with people. And again, one of my jokes, I joke about the difference between New York and Los Angeles is the weight. You are measured in New York by the number of commas in your bank account. If you don't know what that means, if you have $1,000 in your bank account, that's 1 comma. If you have 100,000, it's more zeros, but it's still 1 comma. If you have 1 million, that's 2 commas. In Los Angeles, you're measured by the number of commas in your Instagram account. Your credibility, your net worth, your self-value is driven by how big your following is and what those engagements are. So let's go back. I'm going to talk about lost engagements and changes. The lost engagement, when you click on a picture in Facebook, it opens and you can view it. But most people don't click on it. So if you're somebody like Starbucks, if you're somebody like Akon, if you're Somebody like Swedish Eagle, you've got an audience. If you see 1,000 people that clicked like on your photo, that actually means 10,000 people looked at the picture and didn't engage with it. The engagement is the view, not the action. You're losing engagements because a picture opens up and doesn't do anything or lead you anywhere. But we're counting engagements. So one side of the equation is social media is broken because you click on a picture, it opens, doesn't do anything. You might click thumbs up, you might not. Ask yourself how many pictures you've looked at versus clicked on. And then you look at what's going on with things like Selena Gomez, I think. There's others out there who are getting out of social media. The pressure, the weight, the negativity is tough. Instagram has just announced or is announcing they're going to eliminate the likes. They feel it's too much pressure on especially teenagers. The social pressure of trying to get likes and engagements is too tough. And part of it, I understand that. But then I was hearing and I read and they said, oh, well, Instagram's not going to show likes to the audience, the viewers, right? The voyeurs. But the person posting it can still see the number of likes. And I thought, well, what does that do? So the narcissist still gets to see the number of likes, but they're not going to show it to the audience. So the person still has that social conundrum of saying, oh, how many people liked it? But the audience can't see it. So you've got this movement afoot of how do you deal with things that social media wasn't predicted to do. It's great to let you share. Back to Magmo. What we did is we created a tool that it publishes into Facebook, publishes into Twitter. So the picture shows up. When somebody clicks on it, it actually opens in a browser. Don't have to download an app. You can now read through a story, 1 to 4 pages, arc, picture. The last page is a clickable ad. So for a musician, for example, you post a picture in Facebook or Twitter, people click on the picture, don't do anything. You post a Magmo or a Magic Moment into it. Yes, we had to change the name to Magic Moment. I'll explain why in just a second. Click, opens up in a browser. People can now read your story, click to buy. Actions versus engagement. A click feeds your ego, not your bank account. There's involvement in social media. Like I said, when we started it, the idea was a magazine moment. We were raising money and the investors were like, well, Stephen, why are you doing a magazine? Magazines are dead. People don't like magazines. Millennials don't know what a magazines are. Who's your demographic? What's your market, right? Demographic market. Who's going to use this app? Millennials don't know what a magazine is. And they missed the point. We called it a magazine moment because the narcissistic nature of people wanting to be in their own magazine, being in their own story. Too much heavy lifting. Venture guys, right? Mind is like water, path of least resistance. You say a magazine, their mind's going down one path and it's too hard to get them out. So I went and researched. We own Magmo, M-A-G-M-O, Magmo. It's magmo.co for anybody that wants to go look. And I researched 147 words that start with M-A-G. Magnanimous, yay. Magnificent, yay. Magician. And we ended up on magic. Because how do you capture a magic moment? If you're a musician writing the hit song, how do you capture that magic moment when you're writing that song and share it with your audience? If you're on stage, how do you capture a magic moment? If you're an individual and your child takes its first steps, or you're at, a restaurant with your friends, those are all magic moments that you want to be able to share with people. Social media is broken. There's things that don't work. If you're a brand, you need a better tool. If you're a consumer, an individual, you need a better tool. There's still ways the world can evolve, and we think we can help with that. So when I say social media is broken, people challenge me on it. When you start going through things, there's a lot of improvements. There's a lot of things that can happen, but the social impact has been fascinating. The ability to post and share content is unprecedented, but with that comes the pressure of social acceptance, and it'll be fascinating to see. I don't know what's going to happen with Facebook. Is it going to collapse under its own weight? Is it going to move on? Don't know. Jimmy Wales, last little plug here and wrapping up. Jimmy Wales, a friend of mine, co-founder of Wikipedia. Any of you guys that use Wikipedia, love it, support it, yay, donate. Jimmy's got a brand new platform out called WT Social. WT:social. and he's trying to fix a lot of the things that are broken in social media. So you're going to start seeing more tools come out. You're going to see an evolution because I think tools can get better. The social impact is there. What the future holds, I don't know, but we shall see because I believe social media is broken. We're trying to fix it in a little bit. Maybe you can too. That's it. Stephen Meade, the Bullseye Guy, wrapping up from the Groove radio stations downtown LA. Tune in next week again. Check us out, thebullseyeguy.com. If you want to be specific, it's thebullseye.com/podcasts. But you go to the website, you can find us. Again, Stephen Meade, thebullseyeguy.com. Thank you.